Hi, I built a guitar amp, and it all started with this little box. It's a microphone box, and you see this cable here, this is output from the microphone, and this one is the input from the guitar amplifier, a real guitar amplifier, which I didn't build. It's some kind of small tube amp, and I like that full tube sound. For practicing in silence without disturbing the neighbors, I just put an old hi-fi box inside this microphone box and an old drum microphone from Shure. So when I close this, there's absolutely nothing to hear from my neighbors. So that was the first idea for practicing in silence. Of course, I use digital amps in my computer for a longer time now, and I like them very much. I don't know why. I started building an own digital amp. I've done it with a software called Melda MXXX. One is that there's just one output. It's MXXX from Melda Productions, and you can build your own devices, very complex devices. So this is all parts of my amp. And when it comes to the GUI, it looks like this. I tried to control it without too many knobs. Now I connected my guitar to it. And in the internals, just for all these knobs, they control several things underneath the surface. I get an output volume that just does this one thing, nothing else. And I've got an input volume. And you hear when I crank it up, also the distortion goes up. Hitting the right mouse button, it switches to normal state. That should be the case with all these knobs, that it makes sense. Right click and they go to a value that makes sense. The third knob is, for my taste, it's always up, so I have to correct that. Dirt is a nice feature in this MXXX where you can simulate analog randomness. And drive and gain are different sounds for distortion. You hear that zipper noise, it's because it controls many values under the surface. I couldn't avoid that. So drive all the way up. Cleaner sound. Cleaner sound. I tried to make the guitar sound in a dynamic way. Also when changing the low pass filter on the guitar and the volume knob on the guitar, so that I have some dynamic when playing. When changing the pickups, different bass sounds. So that was the drive knob, and I've got the gain knob. I extended its range with the last builds of this amp, and it goes even up to... It sounds... I have to put some work in it. That makes sense. That makes sense. This character knob, that's very different things changing with the character knob. They are changing some all-pass filters and they change the feedback path. Kind of randomness in the value changes, but in the end 100% is the highest value of feedback I get, I think. No, it goes back, it's somewhere here. Okay, and I like, I've got it from someone in the forums, and he said just put a feedback around your drive section. The idea came up building a known amp when I experimented with Chandler's amp models and the Tube Screamer model. And so I started building my own settings in this Melda Turbo amp. It's all about gain staging. So little steps for small drive sounds, and they add with every stage. And you have to be careful with the low end. Low end and distortion. If you put too much low end in, go into distortion, that doesn't sound so cool. So everything starts with a high pass filter. And you've got the tone knob. I think this doesn't make sense. Opens up all the high frequencies. And then you look for the sweet spot where it dampens the high frequencies. Ah, now this works with the gain knob. Maybe with some twang in it. That's better than before. So all these knobs influence each other, and not everything works, but you'll always find the sweet spots. We had the character, the tone, the high pass, the dirt, the drive, and the gain. The cap character is something very special. I combined an equalizer curve with, where's the equalizer curve? This one's the equalizer. And there's an equalizer too, that's for the dynamic stuff. And a convolution curve, a freeform equalizer curve. And this is built around the IRs, the impulse responses. I took the impulse responses from the small box with a cap in, and now you can change two versions which I liked. I just cranked up the tube amp and made one IR and then the other one with lower values, and now you can blend them. This is darker, fuller, and when it gets higher it's a bit sharper, and they complement each other quite well in the middle. So now the cap character. This is the freeform equalizer curve, and this is the equalizer. And now you can blend and some other things change. So it can, every millimeter can sound quite different. Some randomness is in there. Somewhere in the middle is kind of a sweet spot, but higher and lower settings can make sense in other situations. talk. I just wanted to make one knob in this thing, which is completely unusual for a guitar amp. This is just an attack changer. Now you get a very smooth sound, and now you get a very hard sound, a funky sound. So we can try to make a funky sound. We turn the treble up. Here with the equalizer, it's up to 60%. It gives you treble. Somewhere below this 20-30%, there comes, I don't know, mid frequencies change. And above 60, the mid frequencies change too. So now I've cranked the highs up. Some twang. Twang is right click 23% is the default value. Below, it cuts some mids out, and above it gives some twang. And when I drive this twang button, I maybe should lower the input. Some funky things. Now I've turned up a bit of tremolo. I like that when amps have a very subtle tremolo. This is not subtle anymore. And with the same knob, the tremolo goes in. It also starts widening, and there are some subdivisions in the tremolo. And that is made with a transformation shape. And now you see this step sequencer changes the curve. And again, this is rhythmically changing when I turn up the knob. So I should add one more control to this knob. Okay. So now we have a mono sound, and I like it when it goes a little bit into that stereo effect. A little bit is good. So now it's in the middle, and now we have some width. We didn't experiment with a bass. I have to learn to play guitar. This is the reverb. I tried to make the Melda reverb for spring sounds a bit more nasty with his tone control. And the length, width, it's white. It's a stereo panorama. No, not panorama. Stereo widening. And now you've got that wide sound from the reverb. Now. So now it's mono, and you start turning, and it gets in the stereo field. And the reverb becomes longer and always changes between mono and stereo. So now I've got a long stereo sound. Some lower rate for the tremolo. Okay, that's it. Lots of possibilities. Character settings and bass. Sound is good. Oh, that's interesting. So this is more for crunch and clean sounds.